Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you are with us today. You're going to meet the very wonderful writer, Jacquie Herz, in just a few minutes. And if you don't know who I am your host, Karen E. Osborne. I am author of women's suspense and mystery novels, Getting It Right, Tangled Lies, Reckonings. And then I have a new one coming out, historical fiction, True Grace, in September. Let me tell you a little bit about, well, let's just say hi first. Hey, Jacquie.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
I'm really thrilled to be here.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you. We've met at book talks. We've met at, we're both Floridians.
Right.
Well, we're both a native of Connecticut and New York, but Floridians now.
Now, right.
Yes. And so she has written a historical novel, Circumference of Silence. And her protagonist, Molly, finds some unmailed letters and reads the memories of her mother's Jewish childhood in the 1930s, Berlin, and then in war-torn London. And she goes on, she's going to tell you about other things that happen in the story. And there are a lot of echoes of Jacquie's life based on what I read about your bio. So that's a wonderful place for us to start. Tell us a little bit about Molly and what part of those echoes, really are part of your life. What part of it did you take from your real life?
Well, I would say that I took most of it from my real life. The one thing that, or actually say a couple of things that really were not, or three things actually in the book that were not, that were made up totally. One was the fact that the mother died because she didn't die then. In fact, she read one of the earlier parts of the book.
Oh, did she?
Yes, she did. But it was an early version of it, so it was, I don't know, maybe a little. I think I toned it down some afterwards. That she never read, but she read the earlier part, and maybe it was a little bit more. I don't know, angry, maybe. Right, raw. That's the word.
Raw, yeah. Yeah.
So she was alive at that time, and there were never any letters. In fact, the only thing that I had gotten from her, other than verbal, stories here, there, and everywhere, was she'd written down some notes for me. So I have some scribbled notes, handwritten notes that she made. But other than that, I really, the letters were a fabrication, and it was my way. It was a way for me to tell those stories. It was, well, do you tell the story, having the mother on her deathbed and telling her daughter, what her life was like. But anyway, nothing really came to me. But the letters, somehow they felt real to me, and they felt really real because when my mother left when I was 8 years old, and I came to the States when I was 16. So for 8 years, the only way we could communicate was through letters. So there was also a part of that made sense to me to do the letters. And so that's how that came about. And yeah.
So Molly finds these letters,
right,
and it included kind of explanations about the divorce, your parents' divorce, and that's what caused the breakup, right? That's what caused leaving you behind and mom going to New York.
Right. Because what actually happened was that my mother was 12 in 1939 when they got to London, she and her parents. And, she met my father. She was 13. I think he was 21 or something like that. I mean, he was older than she. Anyway, they got married. She was 17. And so in any case, it didn't work out. And meanwhile, my grandparents had, they were in London. They got to London, and in 1949 they got their visas to come here to the States because the rest of their family was here already from Europe. And so anyway, my grandmother was very nervous about my mother being a 27-year-old all by herself in London, big city, And my mother was a very, very beautiful woman, and my grandmother was very nervous. So this is a story I was told anyway. So she said, you know, you've got to come and live with us because I can't have you floating around London by yourself. And that's how that happened. And so for
she
all of my
didn't
life,
know about you, or the grandmother didn't know you existed, or?
oh yeah, she knew I existed, but I think she was more concerned about my mother, and my father would not let us go. I have a sister as well. He would not let us go. So for all of those years, every year my mother came to London to visit, I would then have this teary thing with my father. I want to go and live with my mother in New York, you know. So, and finally he let me.
So why did you decide to write this story? I mean, it's already compelling. I want to sit down and have a cup of tea with you and hear the rest of your story. But why? What made you decide to write this story?
Well, I think first of all, I felt compelled to write the stories of what happened to my family. Um, I think it's important to share. I think it's important that the world knows what went on. Um, they know about, you know, the concentration camps, and they know, but they don't know. I don't think they know that much about, you know, people, middle class people living, you know, in a city in Berlin, and having everything taken away from them, everything, and not being sure that their lives, you know, that they were safe. And so you know, I don't know. I just felt compelled, and yeah, it was. I think it was also part of me. I mean, I think whoever I am part of that as well.
Yeah, you know, it's so common, evidently. Certainly, you and I have experienced it. That our first novels are more autobiographical, and then as we've, you know, write others. But that first one, you know, so I remember crying writing, getting it right, my
Oh,
first novel. Did you cry much when you were writing this?
I don't know. I don't, you know, I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, you know, it took me a very long time to write it. So I've been writing bits and pieces of it for, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years. I mean, it took me
Oh,
started a long time
yeah.
ago. So I think by the time I got to the end of it, I was, you know, yeah, I think I've sort of gotten over,
Yes,
over
yes.
it.
So what did you like about Molly, and what are some of her characteristics that you really admire? And what are some of those characteristics that you're like, hmm.
Mm. Well, I think, I think ultimately she always meant well. I think she was not always forgiving and not always forgetting. I mean, I think that forgive and forget. I don't think she was very good at doing that. But I think after she read the letters, I think that she learned or was willing to understand, or she did begin to understand why it happened the way it happened.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that you said willing to understand, because it does take an active, I'm going to, you know, when someone is sharing something with you, whether it's letters or a story, or you have to be willing,
yes, you have to be open to
open
taking
to,
it in, right, and
yeah,
then figuring it out. So I think that that's what I think that's what I liked about her.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, um, I think I think she was, you know, she was a smart lady. She had a business, so I think, you know, she was smart, and yeah, I
So the
mean,
story is set both in Berlin, not both, three, in Berlin, and then it's set in London, and then
mhm,
it's set in
New
where in
York,
the US?
New York City.
New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. And over what period of time does the story cover?
Well, it starts in, I think it starts in early mid 30s, I would say, mid 1930s. And it ends in 2014.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
yeah,
A lot of
so
ground, a lot of countries and a lot of ground.
right. so it alternates, you've got Marley who comes to her mother's apartment, she finds the letters, and then she ends up staying there overnight because she went there to start clearing it out, you know how you do after your parent has died. So she ended up staying there overnight, reading through all the letters, and at the same time, so the book alternates between her reading her mother's letters, and then her reaction to them, and then her own memory. So it kind of in the end, it kind of goes more over to Marley's memories than to her mother's.
Wow, sounds powerful. Sounds like an amazing book. Are you writing anything now?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us.
It's okay. My book is this is so far. It is the title of it so far is Hannah Bloom, Juggler. Either it's Dream Juggler. I think it's Dream Juggler or Juggler of Dreams. So she is a woman, a youngish woman going on 40. She's in business with her husband. She has two daughters, two young daughters, and unexpectedly a third on the way. And she's working. She has children, and in their business, they have the opportunity of taking over another business, and there's that. And on top of it all, underneath it all, she wants to be a poet, and so she's working at that when she can, which is not very often. And it's all of this, and memories come in, and it's just I have the thing more or less written, and with me it's always a matter of structuring, how to structure a story so that it becomes interesting. And so I just figured out how to do it to kind of make it, I think, flow better. So that's what
that's what you're working on.
Right, that's what I'm working on now. So yeah.
So this one's going to take less time than the first one, right? The first one took 30, 40 years. So we're not doing that.
No, we're not. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think I'd be alive that long.
Well, that sounds very, very good. Do you have a copy of your book so that we can see it? Do you have a copy
Yes.
of Circumference of Silence?
Yes.
A little higher. Go back. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. What a great cover.
Yeah.
Oh, and the barbed wire. Wow. Yeah, with the kids in the back. That's the mom and daughter in the background.
Yes. Yeah, that's
very nice.
A real picture.
So how can our audience find out more about your novel, find out more about you, keep up with your progress on your book, whatever else you'd want to, where can they find you?
Well, I have a website, very easy. It's www.JacquieHerz.com. So it's just my name.com. And I'm on Facebook. I've been published by Black Rose Writing, so they can find me there. And I'm on everywhere that in Instagram, and actually I signed up for TikTok, although I didn't do anything. I just put in the name of my book in there. So, but I don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it either. I'm being encouraged to try, but I'm not sure yet.
Right. Yeah. And it's overwhelming, the whole trying to figure out what to do and how to do it and the best thing to do. And it's just very time consuming and overwhelming.
It really is. And we like to recommend books to our listeners besides Jackie's book. Get Jackie's book, read it. But in addition to that, do you have some recommendations for us?
Okay. At the moment, I'm reading a book by Joanna Biggs, who is she's English, but I think she's transplanted here in New York. And her book is called A Life of One's Own: 9 Women Writers Begin Again. And so it sounded really intriguing to me because I think a lot of us are doing exactly that. Something we're starting over again, basically, with our lives in what we're doing. And so she got nine. I think she's the 9th. And it starts out with Mary I can't remember. Wollstonecraft. She's the mother of Mary Shelley, who wrote Dracula. But anyway, so it starts out with her, and then it goes on to different authors. And
So it's about their journey. It's
it's about
nonfiction.
their journey and her journey, because she mixes the whole thing together, which kind of makes it interesting and different, because I think she's also got her own journey. And so she is relating to these women and their journeys, which is really, I find it, I'm reading it right now, so, but I'm finding it very interesting.
Yeah.
And the other one that was is called The Guest Lecture, and it's by Martin Riker. He's a professor of writing, I think, in some university, I'm not sure. But it's about, and I really could understand or emphasize he wrote about a woman who was about to give a lecture on economics. And so she is with and it was out of town. So she's with her husband and her daughter in a motel room. She can't go to sleep because she's worried about her lecture the following day. And there is a way of remembering. So because if she doesn't remember what she's supposed to be talking about, there's a way of remembering by taking your house and putting a different subject in each room of your house, so that you can remember that in the kitchen, for instance, you're going to be talking about this, and in the dining room. So anyway, it's all part of that, and she's very worried and she's very nervous, and of course I could really relate to all of that. So, but it was really, really well done, and I found the book on where did I find the book? I forget now, but it was one by another writer who had written about it on Twitter. It was. She had written something about it, and I forget her name all of a sudden. But anyway, it turned out, I was glad I got it. She was very good. And the other thing that I just finished reading is Disappearing Earth by Julia Phillips. I don't know if it's very interesting and a very different way of writing a story altogether. So,
Cool.
yeah,
Well, now you have so many new books in your to read pile. You have all the books that Jackie suggested, and you have Jackie's book in your to read pile. And I just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today, meeting Jackie. I hope you'll follow her, on her, subscribe to her website and follow her on social media. I hope you're already following me. I'm on Twitter. I have my author page on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And, when you see me there, let me know that you met us on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye.